But first, let's get into the whole issue of this trip to Beijing. The PM, of course, trying to repair the trade relationship with the Chinese Communist Party. Years of tensions, we know, the economic sanctions, COVID, and a fair bit of chest beating. Plenty on, but I have to say, experts right now say the world is as dangerous as it was in the late 1930s. I don't think they're wrong, and I just wonder whether our leaders globally are up to dealing with it. Joining me now to discuss, Peter Jennings, the Director of Strategic Analysis Australia. Peter, welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
I got to say, given all the stuff you and I have talked about over the last 4 or 5 years about the strategic challenge of China, how they are so determined to be the global superpower within a matter of decades, Xi's long-stated ambition in his time as leader, and he's 70, to take back Taiwan as he sees it. We're over there talking about lobsters and economic bonhomie. I mean, are we being lulled into a false sense of security?
Yes, lobsters and how much the Prime Minister likes pandas, Peter. I thought that, seldom have I seen a trip which is so light on for substance and so heavy on the photo opportunities. And you're absolutely right. The days when we can be talking about a trade relationship with China and we sort of quarantine that in a way which says that this doesn't have to be touched by bigger geostrategic problems. Those days are long past. Just in the last 72 hours, there was another incident in the South China Sea. I don't know if it was much reported here in Australia where a Canadian warship, a helicopter operating off a Canadian warship, was buzzed by a Chinese fighter jet in a very dangerous way. And the thought occurs to me that, sooner or later, something there is going to happen which sees a bad military mishap. And all of that could make a prime ministerial visit to Beijing promoting trade look really trivial and sort of misdirected as a result. So I think it's very unfortunate that, Albanese has gone there really to commemorate the 50th anniversary of a Gough Whitlam visit, but without doing sufficient homework around the national security outlook, because that's what I think is worrying most Australians.
And look, what worries me is to get to this point that he gets his pictures for what really is a big Labor anniversary. It's not necessarily an Australian anniversary 50 years on. He gets his pretty pictures, but what's been the transactional price we've paid? I mean, yes, we've got Chong Lei out of detention that she should never have been in, but they've got the Port of Darwin. Yes, we've got some easing of some trade tariffs, but they've also got us to pull out of WTO anti-dumping cases. China doesn't do anything that, as I said earlier, that's right. It does it because it's in China's national interest. And I reckon our Prime Minister has been played by one of the best there is at a time when the world needs strength. We've got all the issues we know in Ukraine. We've certainly got the great concerns about the Middle East. And it feels like we're really undercooked here.
I agree. There's been way too much desperation to get back to China for this visit. I think in part so Albanese can say, well, we achieved this, the previous government couldn't do it. China has made a tiny number of concessions, and most of those things, Peter, have been about relenting slightly on bad behaviour, like, for example, releasing a person who was effectively being kept a hostage under false pretences in the Chinese legal system. And most importantly, none of the big strategic issues have changed. We have China occupying those islands in the South China Sea, China threatening Taiwan, China threatening India on the border there, China attacking Australia daily through cyber espionage for intellectual property theft. And all of these things are simply not discussed. They're swept under the carpet in the interests of selling lobsters. I don't mind if Australia wants to export things to China, but that shouldn't be the highest value when we are so, manifestly failing to strengthen our defence capability at a time of, I think the worst regional security outlook that we've seen really since the end of the Second World War.